Hey, welcome back, friends. Gabriel Kevin here. How are you today? Hope you're having a great day. And here we have another installment in my suite of music tutorials covering a wide range from recording, mixing, type of equipment, mastering, and producing. So today we're going to talk about producing. And sometimes I think it's taken in different ways of what producing is. The first thing I'm going to start with is that I believe we're all producers in some sense. And now some might be able to see or hear more into songs and stuff. Um, but even if you don't play an instrument, you're still a producer. So let's get into it and let's talk about what that means. So, first of all, you've gone through a journey. You wrote songs, you bought recording equipment, you recorded stuff, you mixed stuff, and now you're getting to, you're building it in the mix. And look at my mixing tutorial for a lot more information on concepts of mixing and techniques of mixing. I use Studio One, DAW, DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. You could use any kind of DAW, like Pro Tools, etc. There's all kinds out there. And producing to me transcends the DAW. So it doesn't matter what DAW you're using. And sometimes, the kind of equipment, yeah, that's going to be part of producing because, if you want to hear a tambourine, you have to have a tambourine. So, anyway, so you made this journey and now you're into this mixing mode and idea mode, and you just want to make that final beautiful product. So, I use an analogy, and I think I used it in the mixing tutorial, and that is a painter, a fine art painter, an oil painter. So, they start with a blank canvas and they end up with a beautiful mosaic, colorful work of art, like Starry Night by Van Gogh. Look that up, and it's beautiful. If you want to actually see the real one, go to the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, called MoMA. So, how did the artist get from that blank canvas to that final work of art, which your songs will end up being a final work of art? Vision, ideas, inspiration, talking to others, let people hear things, bandmates, family, friends, and somebody might say the song goes on for too long, and this and that, or I think a harpsichord would be good there. Not that everybody's going to say that, but have people listen to it as you go through your journey. But I'd like to start with first of all that there are producers out there, and if you go back in history, you have certain ones of some of my favorites would be George Martin from the Beatles. And he was their original producer when they first signed their record contract back in the early 60s. And he was called the fifth Beatle because he added a lot of ideas, pushed them to their limits in terms of creativity. He even played piano, I believe, on some things and did all the mixing and worked with them closely. So you can go out and get a producer like that. And I guess if you get signed by a record label, today you don't have to be signed by a record label. You could be, nothing wrong with it. But we all know we can put our music out there. So look at my distribution and my PRO tutorial to have more information on that, where you can do it individually. I think most of us know that. Or you can do the producing yourself, and that's what I do. So I've worked with a lot of great people in the industry. One of them who really I learned a lot from, I won't mention names, but he was one of the mixers for John Bon Jovi. And it was pretty cool because you'd say, I have to go over to John's house. But anyway, so a lot of things that I talk about here are concepts and then the application of it. So on my screen here is the mastering suite GUI interface from Studio One. And look at my mastering tutorial for how this all works, but we're going to use this as an example. So let's start from the beginning. If you don't have a George Martin or a Phil Spector, you are producing, and I'm going to explain that. So I believe there are 3 steps in producing. The first one is you've written a song, say you've written on acoustic guitar, and you wrote the words, you worked out the vocal melody, how it's being sung, bam, right there, you just produced something. That creativity of that vocal melody that you sang, the vocal melody, not necessarily your voice, but your vocal melody, is producing. You created something that was a vision or a feeling, and you applied it. Now, that sounds simplistic, but it is. So now you go and you go, okay, I got my Studio One or my Pro Tools, and you go in and you start recording. So you record that acoustic guitar, and this is just all examples. It could be a hard guitar, it could be anything. And you put it down and you do it in tempo, like Gabriel says, you use the metronome. So once that's down, you listen to it and you go, I could use a bass guitar. You're producing again. Because some songs don't have bass guitars. So you're thinking, oh, I need to put a bass guitar in there. Now, I know it sounds simple, but it is the act of producing. You're producing a product. Producing, think about it, producing, creating. And we're going to get more into this because it gets deeper. Aha, yeah, of course it does. Then you start thinking, oh, maybe strings would be in there. Or maybe you're working with another writer. I mean, I work with another writer on certain songs and stuff like that, and we pass ideas back and forth. Hey, that'd be cool to put a harpsichord there. So as you're building it, and I believe mixing and producing go together, because when you're mixing stuff and when you're putting things together, and look at my mixing tutorial, the ideas are producing are constantly flowing in. So I think I need strings there. I think I need a cello. Maybe the type of sound of the guitar that's producing. Do I need a hard guitar there? Do I like the sound of the hard guitar? Maybe I'm going to tailor it, compress it, do something to it. You are producing. Some things we don't think about in producing. Arrangement. How does a song go? You know, a lot of folks are going to go back to George Martin. He did a lot of things with the Beatles arrangements. Arrangement is a lot of very important things because to me, I like to grab the listener right up front. The arrangement to me, you can move a chorus if you use the arranger track in Studio One. Look at my arranger tutorial. Yeah, I got a lot of tutorials out there, but check it out. You can move a chorus forward. I thought that it came in and, you know, it was beautiful classical guitar and went right into the verse and was fine. But something was bothering me. So I moved, I copied a chorus into the beginning. Now you listen to it, you don't know I did that, and please don't tell anybody. But I'm just getting to the point. Arrangement is important. That's producing. That's creating that final painting. You know, Van Gogh just didn't go plop and everything just go onto that starry night. There's greens, there's all kinds of blues, there's the night, the stars, the golden colors. All that is producing. The effects that you use on your vocals, the effects that you use on anything is part of producing. Putting it, just the tambourine, that to me is kind of like ear candy, which is another part of producing. But anyway, so step one is that initial build that you're building, which is cool. As you do that, whether you do it by yourself, even if you don't play an instrument, if you hear something and you have to go get a musician to do it, you're still producing. They're just going to perform it. So as you build that initial mix, you're producing. Okay, so you get to a certain point, and so I just want to instill confidence that that's what you're doing. So take it the next steps further. So the next thing is once you got a pretty good mix down and you have most of the instruments in, and there's a thing called also that I'd like to talk about real quick here is overproducing. Don't just dump things in. If a part sounds empty or not exactly as full as I want it, just don't start dumping stuff in because then that's the same thing when you're doing a painting, an oil painting. I'm just using that as an analogy where if you start putting too many colors in one spot because you're trying to work it out, so you put another color on top of that one. Now that's not what I put another color on top of that one. This could be the sounds. You know, you're adding too much stuff, it becomes mud. It's trash. You know, just pull it all out and start over. So be careful of overproducing. Take your producing step by step and listen. And really listen, and the next step, what else do I want to put in there? How do I want to change the arrangement? Your tempo is also part of producing. Is it too fast? Is it too slow? And look at my tempo tutorial on how in Studio One and probably in other DAWs you can change tempo without pitch. So step two, what is that, Gabriel? To me, step two is now I sit back and I listen to my mix and I listen to it. I'll hand it out to folks and say, what do you think? Sometimes they'll say, that's cool, but the song goes on forever. Get rid of some of those choruses at the end. That's producing. That's changing the arrangement. Give it to bandmates. Give it to other writers that you might work with. Somebody might hear something, help them out and they'll help you out. So listen to their stuff. And that's another good thing too. Listen to other people's music. Now, I'm a huge Yes fan, and I listen to things in like Tales from Topographic Oceans, and I'm like, whoa, what made them think to do that? But it's cool. And, you can go back to just Cream, like White Room. If you listen to the instrumentation, you listen to the things that they did and the things that they didn't do, that gives you a lot of great ideas. And also not just famous folks, but, the people that you might work with, your bandmates or another writer, and listen to their songs and let them listen to your songs and trade ideas back and forth. So the second part to me is at that phase, you're now going to adjust. So the second part is adjust. You're going to maybe add some stuff. You're going to maybe delete some stuff. You may change some stuff. But never let a part go if you don't feel absolutely great about it. And that's just what I'm going to say at this point in terms of adjusting. Because you're going to build, you already have an initial idea. And I'm going to put a hard guitar in there. I'm going to put some rock organ and stuff. And you get that point. You get the vocals in there. And you got your vocal pocket. Definitely look at my mixing tutorial because it goes hand in hand with this one. And now you're adjusting. And, that guitar is too loud. I can't hear the bass. The effects are not exactly right. I need more reverb. I need less reverb. So you're adjusting this mix. Now, the mixing is an art and producing is an art, and they go hand in hand, and you're using the tool, your DAW, to execute those creative ideas. So to me, producing is the idea and the inspiration. Mixing is applying it in terms of the concept of putting it into the DAW, and the DAW is the technology you're using to get to that final product. So after step 2, and you've gone through that, and here's a real good point, and I say this in mastering, I think I say it in mixing, is step away from your work. Step away. Trust me. You get to a certain point, maybe you're in mid-building of your mix and you're mid-building of your stuff. Step away. Take 2 days off, 3 days off. Then when you get to your final thing, I say take a week off, take 2 weeks off. Come back. You will hear things. You'll be, well, why is that in there? Or I think I need something here. Your ears get tired. I worked with a really great mastering guy years ago when you used to go to mastering houses. I'm sure they're still out there. And he always said, take a break. Even when we were doing the mastering all-day session, we would take a break. We would just stop. He would tell us to stop. And we would stop, and we would walk outside and take a break. Take a half-hour break. Take an hour break. But you can take a week break and come back, and you'll hear things. So jot that down, because that's really important. So what is the third thing? The third thing to me, and we're going to get to some of these examples. Third thing to me, and I mentioned I worked and mixed with one of the mixers of John Bon Jovi, and he said this to me, and maybe you've heard this before, but this first time I heard it from him was ear candy. I love that phrase, ear candy. You could almost, if you don't know what that is, you can almost tell what it is. What's ear candy? I got my final product down. I got my beautiful song. It's great, mixed. I don't want any more instruments. I've done this, and this. You could be thinking ear candy as you're going, or at the end, or both. I usually end up at the end when I'm done my mix. I'm like, okay. I stepped away. I'm listening back. I'm like, something right there. Maybe something right there. This needs a little more build going into this. And you add these little things that are ear candy. And the funny thing is, when you listen to like songs that you like on the radio or over the years, whatever genre, you could pick out ear candy. It's those parts that you love to hear. It's those parts that you wait for. Or there's those parts that make you go, ooh, cool. That's ear candy. It's giving candy to your ears. Okay, so I want to get into some examples here of some of the things that I did in terms of arrangements and tempo and build, and then ear candy. So here we go. So what you're seeing here is, this is the first one here that I'm circling is Yellow Butterfly, and then I have Red Hot, Wonderland, Another Day, and Holding On To. So I'm not going to go into how all this works. I'm just going to play the stuff. So here, in the beginning of the song, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to get into the middle of the classical guitar. And then it's going to go into a chorus. When I first arranged it, that chorus wasn't there. It sounds like it's always been there, and that's how you use the arranger track, and you play to you play to the beat, so you can easily move these things around. But look at the arranger tutorial. That was not there. It went from this. See if I can jump. Look at the clear blue sky. So it just went classical guitar into the verse. Nothing wrong with it. But there was something in me that said, oh, after that classical guitar, I just want to hit the listener with something, and like the pretty part of it, that's all pretty, but it's so much better this. Capture your listener. Doesn't mean you have to have a course in the beginning of everything. I don't have a course in the beginning. I might have a course in the beginning of everything, but capture your audience. And the other thing, like what you're hearing here, is dynamics. So I have this classical guitar going, and it goes boom. And now it's not like a hard guitar coming in, but it goes boom into the chorus, and it's like, woo, capture. And then watch after the chorus. And this is arrangement I'm talking about in terms of producing. After the chorus, walking down the road one day, it calms down, and it brings you back into that mode of almost like the classical guitar, but it's a vocal. So let's bring it back one more. Walking down the road one day. That's dynamics. You don't have to have dynamics. You can have it straight through and just, boom, 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 boom. But, dynamics definitely captures listeners, both when you hit them with something big or you take them away from that big thing and you bring them into another mood. So that's all producing in terms of arrangement and build. So let's talk about, we'll stay in this song, let's talk about ear candy. So during this verse, and I'm going to play it a little bit, and I don't want this video to go too long, but there's just a lot of examples I want to give. And these are my examples, so I'm sure you can hear them, and I hear them in other songs, famous songs, and friends' songs that, wow, that's cool that you put that little thing there. That's ear candy. Okay, so I had listened to this verse, and it was fine, but there was just something missing, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I didn't start overproducing. That's what you may tend to do. Think simple. Write that one down. Think simple. You ever hear the term KISS? I come from the corporate world and the IT world, and one of the big things in IT is KISS, K-I-S, not K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, and I'm sure you've heard that before, so keep it simple. Don't blob all those colors onto that painting, all right? Keep it simple. So I'm going to play this, and I want you to listen for a flute. It comes a little bit after the first phrases. Looked at the clear blue sky. Suddenly in front of me flies this yellow butterfly. A feeling overwhelming me, energy from inside. Watching as the world goes by, my little yellow butterfly. Do you hear that? I added that later. That was total ear candy. I just felt at this phrase here, energy from inside. Hear that? Do 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 do. I added a flute right in there, and I just made a little melody line. I didn't overdo it, but it accentuates that part, and it's ear candy. I love waiting for that part. So the first, I kind of give the flute a little bit when it says yellow butterfly. Yellow butterfly. So there's the sound. I'm introducing the sound. And now I'm going to give the part that I wanted to give. I mean, right in between, I just got chills. So, and then I have it at the end, right into the chorus, just to keep, there was a little part there. And all I did was one note, dan, 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 one note, and a flute off of a keyboard. And then I just mixed it in. And if you look at my mixing tutorial, I mentioned that if you do a really good mix and you really have your vocal pocket and things in the stereo spectrum and EQs and volumes and all that stuff, you will have the ability to add ear candy pretty easily. So that's that. So that's kind of like very sweet ear candy, because ear candy is supposed to be sweet. So I'm gonna jump to Wonderland and a couple of the same things. So in this, the ending had a lot of choruses. So if you look at some of my tutorials, I think it's the arranger track one, where I had chorus 3, and then it says at the top chorus 6, and I had to explain that I'm not, an idiot when it comes to counting. You don't go 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Obviously, there were other courses there that I took out. So I have 2 courses at the end. And since that tutorial, I actually took out the other course because I felt that the song already did its thing. If you drag it out, the people are going to, oh, I'm done. And worst thing, I think, one of the worst things, but if somebody's listening to my song and they're getting towards the end and they're done and they hit stop, but the song didn't finish, oh, that's not good to me. To me, that's like, and then sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I'm done with it. And I'm thinking, wait, I'm stopping on my own song. You got a problem there. So listen to yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be truthful with what you're hearing. That's why you step away. So anyway, here, and I hope this is not too loud. Let me just see where I'm at. Okay, so that's the end of the solo, the little music box solo. And so then it goes into this next chorus, and I had another chorus after it, but I took it out. So in Yellow Butterfly, I added one. This one, I took it out because I felt that it was just going too long. Just end it, So here we go. And those harmonies are the Harmony Engine by Antares. And I have one of my plugin videos explains it. As I repeat, do you know the way, do you know the way, do you know the way? I had another chorus in there that actually went through the whole chorus. And then it said, and our time is on our hands. It was too much. So I just took it out. And you can't even tell it was even there. So arranger track, please. I'm going to keep repeating that. And then that's an arrangement in this. Now here in the verse, and this, so that's more arrangement. Oh, and tempo. I've changed the tempo of this song. I've increased it by 2, 3 beats per minute. And look at my tempo tutorial in terms of not just how to change tempo, but try different things. Actually, in not Red Hat, holding on to, I increased the tempo, and then I decided to decrease it back. So play with it, listen to it, have other people listen to it. But anyway, here, so tempo is also part of it. So all the sounds you're hearing, that's all production put together. I did most of it actually, and had some help with some friends. Sounds like a Beatles song. So here in this verse, let's see where we're at. I'm going to show another little ear candy thing. And it's not necessarily always in a verse. It could be in a chorus, too. So, and I'll show that in Holding On To. It was ear candy by accident. Cool. Something happens by accident is always awesome. Not an accident. Okay, shut up, Gabriel. Go on. Okay, here we go. Surely always be. Why is it always true to me? Do you see? Someday you'll see our world will come again to be. What a dream. Now, after I've been babbling about this the whole time, you probably can hear what it is. It's on the left. It's a guitar. It actually is kind of a hard guitar, but I put some processing on it, and it goes da-na-na-na-na. So it's answering to the vocal. It's accentuating the vocal. So here we go. Surely always be. That. So let's start. We're in the verse really starts from the beginning. One day I see that time will surely always be. Why is it always true to me? Do you see? Someday you'll see our world will come again to be. What a dream you'll see. And by the way, hear that slide? So there, I added those, and it just does something to it. You don't have to, but if you hear something's missing, just take your time, try different things. And the other thing was, if you heard, oh sorry, here's a late edition. Do you hear that hard guitar slide on the right? I added that after the fact because it went into the chorus, and I was kind of like, hum-de-dum-de-dum. I just wanted to bring the listener and say, here, something is coming. And that's what that guitar does. Okay, so that's Wonderland and ideas on tempo, arrangement, and ear candy. So if we come over here, oh, and here's something in this is another day. This one has to do with panning. So here's some production stuff using panning. What? Okay, so let's see where we're at here. I want you to listen to the vocal. If you have headphones on, it'll be so much better. So just listen to the vocal. Let's see where I just want to make sure I'm at the right spot. So our love now ends today. Seems like it was only yesterday. If you Okay, so let's bring this right where it's better there. So our love now. Okay, so our love now ends today. Seems like it was only yesterday. In that first phrase, there are some harmony vocals directly behind the lead vocal. You can't hear it. If you can hear it, that's amazing. But I have them behind the lead vocal and at a lower volume, and it's filling out that first phrase. So that's just a technique of stacking some things behind your vocal to fatten out, like doubling, but I'm kind of doubling with some harmonies. After the first phrase, I take those exact same two harmonies, and they're not high harmonies, they're kind of like mid-level EQ harmonies, and using automation, I split out them to left and right for the second phrase. And in automation, I increase the volume on them at the same time. And right when the third phrase comes, I collapse them back into the center of it and lower the volume, and then I open them up again after the fourth phrase. So listen for it, but those are always there. I'm just pulling them out, increasing volume, decreasing volume, pulling them back. And it makes the verse more interesting to me. So our love now ends today. Seems like it was only yesterday. If you made it there, you want to say, open my eyes to another day. Tell me why we do it one more day. Tell me why. Now hear that guitar coming up a scale. That was originally only the bass. The bass was going doom, 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 and it's still, bass is still doing it. And I loved it so much that I added a guitar following exactly the same as the bass, actually two guitars. And so that's really cool because it kind of like gives that, it makes it feel like it has motion. So these are just ideas, things that I've done. And it comes back up again. I think it just, I got chills again. I'm easily pleased. Okay, moving on. We're at 28 minutes and still counting. Yawada. Okay, for the final one for ear candy and arrangement, this is Holding On To. Now, I'm not sure it's not going to be too loud, but first of all, let's just start at the beginning, and you'll hear that drum lead in. Okay, a couple things. First of all, the drums in the beginning, I raised the volume. I used automation on the drum track and raised the volume of that coming in, because based on the volume of the drums throughout the whole song, I wanted that first part, because it's by itself, I wanted it to be louder so it doesn't sound so low and then the song hits. So I used automation and I took that's just an initial part of that drums, and I raised that in volume and automation, and right after they're done and the music comes in, I put it back to the normal volume of the drums. But you can't tell, but if I didn't do that, it would sound too low. So let's listen to that first. Right when that guitar comes in, I lower the volume of those drums. So that's another thing in producing, that you hear like something's not being heard. You can use automation, volume automation, and just craft your volume through the song, which is really cool. The harmonies in this is the Antares harmony engine. Now, I do a lot of the other harmonies I have, like in Wonderland and in Yellow Butterfly. Those are real harmonies. So I use the harmony engine sparingly, but sometimes it has a lot of fullness in it, and I would have to get a ton of vocalists in here in my studio, and time after time. And sometimes it's easier to just use the harmony engine. So look at that tutorial, and in the tutorial, of the harmony engine, just for the sake of that, it sounds a little robotic, but when you hear it in the mix, if you do it right, it sounds normal. But in the middle, I'm going to point out something that was producing by accident. That's a new phrase. Okay, that will make it through. Ooh, a little Beatles. I'm just getting close to it, so let's hear it again. That is a complete accident. So I had another set of vocals, and I redid the vocals in the chorus, and I had that, we'll make it through there, and I was going to delete it because I was redoing it, and I forgot to delete it. So then it was on another track. It's like, I think it's like 3 vocals. So there's a little bit of a harmony in that. When you hear that, there's a harmony. And that ooh also was going to be deleted. And so I added the new vocals like you're hearing, but I forgot to mute those other tracks. I'm going to delete them. So I just was moving fast, and they played through it, and I'm like, whoa, that really sounds cool. And I was going to delete it. So that's by accident, but I just like that part. I wait for this part that we'll make it through. Sorry, I'm not singing very well right now. Okay, so that's producing by accident. And the only other thing, the last thing I want to talk about here is something I talk about in, I believe, my mixing tutorial. And I think it's in my volume management tutorial, is in this verse. And now watch how this drops. And you can just see visually how loud this is here, and then it drops, and that's the chorus going into the verse. So this has a very big dynamic drop, which I like. But let's go into the verse, and then you're going to listen for these strings that are going to happen on the left side. And I explain how I did it in the volume management tutorial, and it just accentuates. It's just one hit of a string. That's pure ear candy, the simplest you can get. And I'll tell why I did it. So let's come out of the chorus. So how loud that is, I'll pull it back a little more. And then listen how it just drops. I just love it because it just captures the listener into this verse. And this song is about epic love. So I talk about Romeo and Juliet, Ulysses and Penelope, if you know Greek mythology, Antony and Cleopatra. But in the 2 verses, I talk about Paris and Helen of Troy, if you know the Trojan War, the Iliad. And then in the second one, it's King Arthur, where you have Lancelot and Guinevere. And they had a love affair, and well, that's their business. But anyway, there's a certain part of both of these where it talks about, the first one is when it says Helen of Troy. I just wanted to do something there. Just Helen of Troy, most beautiful woman ever. And then in the Guinevere part, I just love the name Guinevere. And so anyway, we'll listen to that and just listen for it. So we're going to come out of this, go into drop dynamics, and then when you hear Helen of Troy, you'll hear the strings. By the way, those strings, well, let's play it, and then I'll stop talking. Forever boy, forever Paris and Helen of Troy. Forever boy, you hear that? Forever Paris and Helen of Troy. Forever. It just draws you into Helen of Troy. And I'm going to jump right over here to Guinevere, Lancelot and Guinevere. Oop, went too far. Together, Lancelot, Guinevere's joy. Together, boy. That strings is playing through the whole verse. It's kind of in the background. It's called a pad. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but when you have something, you have a lot of instruments that are kind of like coming in and out, and you want to kind of glue them together. You add something called a pad, and a lot of times this could be strings. So yeah, strings playing through nicely, but then you pull them back in volume, and that's part of mixing, right? Volume louder, it's going to be more prominent. But those strings are in the background. If they weren't there, you would hear a little bit of empty space. So that's a pad. So I had the pad there, and I just thought, when it hits those part of Helen of Troy and Guinevere's joy, and everything rhymes, I wanted something. And so all I did was take a section of that strings that's playing, I cut it, and I think it's in volume management, and I just increased it because you can do that in Studio One. It just increased that one event that you created by cutting, and I increased it, and that's what you're hearing. Pure ear candy. So, anyway, and the last one I want to point out here, and if hopefully I still have your attention, was this another one by accident, and it's the that goes into the verse, and it was there, and I just left it there. Listen for it. Ah. It's just like brings you, it's like coming down from a flight, and you just go, and you're landing. No, anyway, okay. So that's all about 3 steps of producing that you're probably already doing, and this is just some more ideas in terms of how to get to that final beautiful painting. And you could have a simple song, an acoustic guitar, and just added a tambourine, or you could have a full production like some of these. It doesn't matter. It's your inspiration, it's your ideas, and other people helping you. So step 1, your initial build. You have these ideas already that, I have this song. I'm working on a song with my co-writer, and we're working out that initial stuff. We've written a song, we have the lyrics, we know the kind of piano part because that was what it was written on. I've already started working out some guitar sounds for it, and we're going to build it. And simple, build little by little. And I'm not sure what kind of drums I want in it, but we're building. That's your first step, your initial build. Your second step is if you've got a pretty good thing going, adjust, add, delete, change. Let people listen to it. Could be arrangements, could be sounds, could be tempo. And the last one, when you're kind of done, and this could happen earlier, when you're kind of done, ear candy. Sit back, take 2 weeks off, come back and listen. Gotta be happy. This is me. I have to be so happy with every part of the song. That has to be great to me. I beat myself up because I want that absolute perfecting the song, like they say in literary world, perfecting a novel, perfecting the painting. Every part has to be great to me. So when I take a week off or 2 weeks off, I come back and I listen to it. Wow, that song is just going too long. There's something right there would be so cool to put in there, but I don't want to overdo it. I'll put a flute in there. I think the song could go a little faster. Keep trying, and you can pull things back. That's the great thing about undo. So the third thing then would be ear candy, and we just talked about that, and I just gave good examples. So hopefully this helps in terms of producing ideas, concepts, applications of the things and examples that I've given. And it goes hand in hand with mixing. So look at those other tutorials, because all this stuff kind of goes together to get to that final product. So be the George Martin that you are, or the Phil Spector, or whoever your favorite producer is. And you can get a producer. That's great. You're going to pay for it, probably, or they're going to get some kind of return on royalties. And that's great if you really want to do that. But you can also ask other people. And I am more than open to anybody who wants to say, hey, Gabriel, can you listen to my song and give me your impression of it? And I will do the first pass for free. You don't have to take any ideas I have. I'll just be honest with you. But, ask me. And you can go to my website, gabrielkevin.com, and contact me there. And ask me. I will do the first pass for free. I'll say, I think it's absolutely awesome. I think this, that, and that. But the other thing I ask is, everybody has to take constructive criticism, so don't get mad at me if you're going to ask me. And hopefully that helps. So, anyway, I think we're done here. Again, I hope it all helped. If you like this and you like my other tutorials and you want to know more stuff coming out, and it's not just music, I have tutorials on how to make a Philadelphia cheesesteak since I'm from Philadelphia. I have a tutorial on how to do songwriting, how to do novel writing. I have a published novel out there, so check it out on Amazon. And I have published poetry, how to write poetry, lyrics, songwriting. Now, songwriting is very subjective. So, how to write a song? How do you have a class on how to write a song? I think the only way you do that is that you can just show it by example. So I would say, here's how I write songs. Some people start with lyrics. Some people start with instruments. I start with an instrument. I start with a guitar, almost always a guitar. If not a guitar, then a keyboard. My co-writer on certain songs, always keyboards. He starts with. He doesn't sing, but he has the vocal melody, and so then I do the singing. So examples of that songwriting hopefully can inspire you to be a better songwriter, or you want to be a better songwriter. And a lot of these tutorials on how to mix and everything, writing a song is the first step. Producing and mixing a song and mastering a song is your final product. So go from that blank canvas to Starry Night by Van Gogh. So again, what I was trying to get at is all this stuff that's on my channel. That's not just music, but it's a lot of music stuff. Please subscribe. You'll be in the know. It helps me out too. If you like it, please like it. And most important to me, as I always say, is please share it with anybody you might know. If you stumbled across this or some of my tutorials or anything that I can help with, share this stuff out to people that you think, hey, they might want to know this, or this could help them. Cool. All right. We are done. Have a great, beautiful, creative, producing, wonderful, beautiful day. Take care. Thanks. Bye.